Hello, welcome to the show G1. Today we will talk about manga. For this we have two speakers, Mr. Kishimoto, who will tell about the origin of mangas, and Mr. Gilles,
Bonjour.
a French manga specialist. We will have a surprise for you at the end of the show. So I'm going to talk quickly about the current mangas in the world nowadays, how they are perceived and the influence they have. So today the influence of manga goes far beyond comics. They are also developed by animation and video games. The manga is from Japan, but nowadays more and more non-Japanese are trying to create works with more or less success, as in France with manga, in the United States with original English language manga. So we have many audiovisual productions that are inspired by the genre, like the Matrix trilogy. Its directors, the Wachowski, says the adaptation of Ghost in the Shell, who's a saga by Mamoru Oshii. It's the same for the movie Paprika, released in 2006 by Satoshi Kon, that inspired Christopher Nolan's for the movie Inception in 2010. So today we have a diversification of the manga, and it's derivative. After seducing teens, publishers are now targeting adults and well as young women to develop the market as new development strategies. The goal is to change the style of manga to attract new readers, and knows the manga offer a diversity of style and content to adapt to many audience. So let's give a scope to Mr. Kishimoto and Mr. Gilles.
In the first appearance of comic strips in Japanese life date back to medieval times. At that time, long stories and picturesque scenes were told and painted on rolls of paper. Rumor is that the first mangaka is a monk or a lover. After long dates away from his beloved, he decided to write a love letter with pictures, and long interesting anecdotes remains unproven. It's up to you whether you believe them or not. The term manga became common in the late 18th century with the publication of books of such as Mangaku Soichitsu by Kankei Suzuki or Shiji no Yukikai of Kyoden Santo in the early 19th century, with manga Hyakujo in 1814 of 19th century, with manga Minawa Aikawa. Many thought it was the famous wave painter Okusai in 1814 who was the first to use this word. It's not totally false, for it was his work that made the world known in the West. His work were limited to image of depicting characters, making fun faces, but this word manga takes the specific meaning of comic book during the 20th century with the introduction of this one in Japan, when it became very popular after 1945. And thanks to Osamu Tezuka, the term was used only to describe it. This term that has been used abroad, France, USA, German, to characterize the Japanese comic strips.
So now it's me that I will talk. I'm a specialist of manga in France. The manga is still something. It's still something like in France. French people are the major class. Non, je sais pas.
Pourquoi t'as rigolé?
Mais j'ai pas. J'ai pensé qu'il a dit bonjour et tout. Vas-y, viens, on continue. Viens, on continue. Ah, on coupera au montage.
Ouais, mais comment? Tu sais que ça. Au pire, reprend du début, genre.
Ah ouais, reprends du début. Vas-y.
So now I will talk about the manga in France. I'm a specialist of mangas. The manga is still something like in France. French people are the major consumers of Japan BDs of term of soul. Many criticize the mangas as have a huge success all around the world and mainly in France. However, there have been a decline of mangas because of the emergency of internet. There are now scans which are mangas in internet. It's more easier to read that, so people like internet for manga. That's the main things of manga decline. But in the 70s and the 80s,
so thank you, Mr. Kishimoto,
You're
and
welcome.
Mr. Gilles.
au revoir.
Goodbye. Thank you. Alright. So I'm going to show you the surprise. Okay, so it's the end of the show. Thank you.
In Japan, there is a lot of people who like Tai Chi. There is a way of life. Everyone like that.
Konnichiwa.
So, welcome to Japan. So today we have the intervenant Sakura, who is a professor of Tai Chi, and she's a professional of Japan manga.
Hello everyone. So as we know, there is a lot of manga in Japan. A lot of people read mangas. So there is different types of manga. There is a shoujo manga and shonen manga, both Japanese words. So the shoujo manga is the word it derives from the word shoujo. Shoujo is little girl. So the public of shoujo manga are mostly young girls because of the scenario of the manga, and of the scenario of the manga. And shonen manga is a manga for young men, in opposite of shoujo manga, and this is where fights take place and battles. So manga is widely accepted than anime is, of course. That's not to say that anime is frowned upon, but anime is seen as being mostly for the younger generation. A lot of Japanese people know that there are anime series for adults. Manga, on the other hand, is everywhere. So manga books are generally printed in black and white and cover a wide variety of genres and subject matters aimed at both sex and knowledge, not just for young boys, to whom comics are generally marketed at the West. Themes include romance, action, adventures, science fiction, comedy, sports, and can also venture into darker subject matter for adults such as horror and more risky material. Though the latter tends not to be acknowledged in everyday life and culture, as it makes up a large section of Japan publishing industry. Manga books can be found and seen everywhere. People reading manga on trains during rush hour is a common sight in Tokyo as well as the rest of the country. Every town will have a bookstore with aisle upon aisle of different manga genres, and larger cities even have stores entirely dedicated to the medium over multiple stories. Convenience stores are quite happy for patrons to stand and read manga even if they are not going to buy, and many waiting rooms and restaurants have bookshelves with popular serializations. Most manga aimed at children use a simplistic style, and the adorable characters feed in Japan's love for all things kawaii. Kawaii is cute in Japanese. Characters also have oversized eyes, so the artist can express and convey emotions more easily. Below are a few examples of the more popular comic books amongst children. Among the manga I've co-written, there is Astro Boy, Doraemon, Bleach, Death Note, and Dragon Ball. So first, Astro Boy, first published in 1952, is about a world where human and robot coexist. The protagonist, Astro Boy, is a robot who uses his superpowers to fight crime, and as a result of the care and attention of his owner, is able to experience human emotions. Doraemon, first published in 1969, follows a blue robotic cat who has traveled back in time from the 24th century to help a young schoolboy, Nabita Nobi, through the trials and tribulations of life. Dragon Ball, first published in 1984, follows Goku and his friend Bulma as they explore a mythical Earth, learning martial arts and searching for Dragon Balls, and summon a magical dragon who assists them in time of danger. As you move away from the books aimed at children and to those aimed at teenagers and young adults, the theme can become a little darker. However, the general ideas of good and overcoming evil still remain. The style of the artwork is a lot more detailed and realistic. However, physical features of the characters are still over-stylized and exaggerated. Below you will find a couple of examples popular amongst the teenage audience. Bleach, first published in 2001, which I co-written too, is about a teenager named Ichigo who gains the power of Soul Reaper, similar to Death God, and protect the human world against evil spirits as they will guiding in deceased spirits safely to the afterworld. Death Note, first published in 2003, follows Light, a senior high school student who received the Death Note from a death god. The Death Note is a note. When Light writes a name, Light is the name of the boy. When Light writes the name of a person in the notebook, their lives come to an end. So he takes it upon himself to rid the world of criminals and evil. Both Bleach and Death Note, along with other popular serializations, have been published in English. Their popularity in Western countries is not on the same scale as in Japan, but interesting. Arigatou gozaimashita.
So thank you for following our emission. So it was Mark for G1 TV, and let's see the next week. Thank you.